Look at this old photograph from September 1896. It shows a kind, elderly grandmother sitting proudly with her two little twin grandsons, boys who look about 5 years old. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. All three are dressed in their best Victorian clothes, dark formal outfits for a proper studio picture. The grandmother sits straight in a tall chair, looking calm and full of dignity. Her hands rest gently on the shoulders of the two boys, standing close on each side of her. At first glance, it is a warm, touching scene. 3 generations of one family together, full of love and connection. It feels sweet. It feels like a perfect moment caught forever. But in early 2024, when skilled photo restorers carefully cleaned up and brought back details from this badly faded 1-to-8-year-old picture, they discovered something very sad hidden inside it. One of those smiling little twin boys had already passed away before the camera shutter clicked. The photograph reached the Victorian Memorial Photography Archive in London in February 2024. It came as part of a large gift from the Whitmore family estate, a treasured collection of late 1800s pictures that once belonged to a wealthy merchant family from Yorkshire. The image was taken inside a proper photographer's studio. You can tell by the painted background of soft curtains and columns, the even light, and the careful way everything is arranged. The style that was popular in the 1890s. Right in the center sits the grandmother. She looks to be in her late 60s or early 70s. She rests on a high-backed upholstered chair that was common in studios back then. She wears full black mourning dress, the kind Victorian women put on after losing a husband, a child, or another close family member. The dress is made of fine black silk or wool. It has a high neck trimmed with delicate black lace, long sleeves ending in fancy cuffs, a fitted top, and a full long skirt, all very fashionable for the time, even though the color is sad. Her white hair is neatly pulled up into an elegant bun and held with pretty combs. At her collar is a small mourning brooch, the kind people often wore with a tiny lock of hair from someone they had lost, a quiet way to keep loved ones close. Her face carries the quiet strength and calm expression Victorian ladies were taught to show in photographs. Her hands rest softly but firmly on the two little boys, helping them stand very still during the long time the camera needed to make the picture, sometimes 30 to 50 seconds. On her right, the left side from our view, stands one twin boy. He has light hair parted neatly and combed smooth. He wears a smart dark jacket, short knickerbocker trousers, white shirt, and a big fancy collar, clothes that show the family had money and cared about looking proper. He stands close to his grandmother, looking straight at the camera with the serious face children were told to keep. On her left, our right, stands the other twin, dressed exactly the same way, same suit, same white collar, same neat, light hair. He mirrors his brother perfectly, making the picture look balanced and beautiful. Both boys have the same solemn look, the same straight posture. Everything about them shouts that they are twins and that someone loved them very much. The grandmother's hands touch both boys with care. The whole scene looks like a proud grandmother showing the world her beloved twin grandsons. A picture meant to last for years and remind everyone of family closeness. But the photo itself was in terrible shape. After more than a century, the colors had faded almost completely to pale brown and sepia. Huge cracks ran across it like broken glass, brown foxing spots, water stains, torn edges, and missing pieces hid many details. Still, what you could see felt warm and full of love. A note written on the back in old ink said, "Mrs. Elizabeth Whitmore with grandsons Henry and Edward. Yorkshire, September 1896. Dr. Caroline Fletcher, who looks after old memorial photographs at the archive, first thought it was a classic happy family portrait from Yorkshire in 1896. An elderly grandmother with her 5-year-old twin grandsons. She wrote in her notes that it needed serious restoration because of all the damage, but that it was a lovely example of 3 generations captured together. She had no idea what the cleaning and high-tech work would soon show. Dr. James Morrison, a specialist who restores very old Victorian pictures, started the careful job. He used powerful machines to scan the photo with infrared light, ultraviolet light, and very sharp 4,800 dpi resolution. These special lights can see through fading, stains, and cracks to find details no normal eye can see anymore. The picture was printed on albumin paper coated with gelatin silver, a common method in 1896, but after 128 years, the coating had turned dark yellow, cracked badly, and lost almost all its sharpness. As Dr. Morrison studied the scans, he noticed something strange about the two boys. In the infrared images, the boys standing to the grandmother's left, our right, looked normal. Skin and cloth showed natural, tiny changes and living texture. But the boy on her right, our left, looked different. His body appeared very flat and even, without the small natural movements you expect from someone alive. Dr. Morrison had seen this pattern before in other sad Victorian post-mortem or memorial photographs of children who had died. He zoomed in very close on their faces because the camera needed such a long exposure. Living people, even children trying hard to stay still, made tiny movements. A slight blink, a muscle twitch near the eye, a breath that moved the chest just a little. The boy on the right showed these tiny living signs. The boy on the left showed none. His face stayed perfectly frozen, eyes open but with a faint cloudy look in the pupils that only appeared clearly in infrared. A sign experts call corneal opacity, something that happens after death. He looked even closer at how the boys stood. The living boy's feet and legs showed natural weight shifts, the small wobbles of a child trying to obey and not move. The other boy stood too perfectly straight, too balanced, as if something invisible was holding him up. When Dr. Morrison brightened the area behind that boy, very faint lines appeared, shadows of a Victorian posing stand, a metal device undertakers used to keep a dead person standing naturally for photographs. Then he studied the grandmother's hands again. Her hand on the living boy rested lightly and lovingly, just touching his shoulder the way a grandmother would. Her other hand gripped more tightly, fingers placed in a way that helped support weight that could not hold itself anymore. It still looked like a loving touch, but now the experts understood it was also practical help. All these clues together proved the truth. The boy on the grandmother's right side was already dead when the picture was taken. This was not an ordinary family photo. It was a memorial photograph made so the family could have one last image of both twin boys together, even though one had passed away. Undertakers in those days were very skilled at this sad work. They washed and dressed the little body, combed his hair to match his brother's exactly, put him in the same fine suit, and arranged his eyes to look almost natural. Then they used the hidden metal stand to hold him upright beside his grandmother's chair. Her steady hand gave extra support, while also showing the love she still felt. Yorkshire records from 1896 tell the heartbreaking reason. Henry James Whitmore died on September 12, 1896. He was 5 years, 2 months old. Cause of death: diphtheria. His twin brother Edward, Charles Whitmore, lived. Diphtheria was one of the most frightening illnesses for Victorian children. Before modern medicines and vaccines, it killed thousands every year. The germ made a thick, gray-white membrane grow inside the throat. That membrane could block breathing completely. Children also got very high fevers, swollen necks, called bull neck, and sometimes heart failure from the poison the germ made. Many died in just 2 or 3 days. In the summer and autumn of 1896, a big wave of diphtheria swept through northern England, and Yorkshire suffered badly. Twins who lived, ate, and played together caught it from each other very easily. Once one showed signs: sore throat, fever. The other usually followed fast. Even rich families like the Whitmores, who could pay for the best doctors and the new, but expensive and not always ready, antitoxin serum from London, often could not save their children. The pain in this family went back even further. The twins' mother, Margaret Whitmore Preston, Elizabeth's only grown daughter died in July 1891, just hours after giving birth to Henry and Edward. She was only 26. The boy's father, Thomas Preston, a lawyer, could not look after newborn twins while grieving and working, so he asked grandmother Elizabeth, already a widow since 1888, when her husband John died of a heart attack, to raise the babies. Elizabeth was 63 when the twins arrived. She took them in with all her heart. She hired a nursemaid to help, but she herself fed them, taught them, sang to them, and loved them like her own. For 5 years she was their whole world, the only mother they ever knew. In early September 1896, both little boys got sick with sore throats and fever. The family doctor came quickly and said it was diphtheria. They kept the boys in the nursery, away from others, with nurses watching day and night. Edward became quite ill but slowly got better. Perry's throat stayed open enough. The fever broke, and he began to recover. Henry got much worse, very fast. The membrane grew thick and wide. His breathing turned hard and noisy. Even though they tried to clear his throat and used the new antitoxin that cost a lot of money to rush from London, nothing stopped it. On the night of September 12, 1896, at 20 minutes past 3 in the morning, Henry died in his grandmother's arms. He was 5 years, 1 month, and 28 days old. Elizabeth wrote in her private diary that same day, "Henry left this life at 3:20 this morning. I held his hand as he went, just as I held his mother Margaret when she gave him life 5 years ago. Edward sleeps in the next room, still weak but growing stronger. How can I explain to a 5-year-old boy that his other half is gone forever? I have buried my 2 baby sons long ago, my husband, my only daughter, and now one of my grandsons. Edward is all I have left." The next day or the day after, Elizabeth asked a photographer to come. She wrote to her sister, "I want one picture of me with both my boys together, Henry and Edward, just as they always were. Edward should grow up knowing he had a twin, that they were side by side, that our little family was whole for a while. I am old. I may not be here many more years. I want Edward to have something to look at and remember us all by." On September 14, 1896, the photographer set up his big camera. The undertaker had gently prepared Henry's body, clean, dressed in the matching suit, hair combed the same way. Elizabeth sat in her black mourning dress that she would wear every day for the rest of her life. Edward, still pale and tired from his own illness, stood on one side. Henry's body, held upright by the hidden stand and Elizabeth's firm hand, stood on the other. For perhaps 40 long seconds they stayed still. The shutter opened and closed. One last picture was made of 3 people who loved each other: grandmother, living grandson, and the little twin who would never grow older. Edward Charles Whitmore lived a long life. He died in 1963 at the age of 72. His grandmother Elizabeth raised him with love until she passed away in 1904 at age 76. After that, distant relatives took him in. All his life Edward kept that special photograph. He showed it to his own children and told them the story, how he once had a twin brother named Henry who died when they were 5, and how his brave grandmother looked after him alone when the rest of the family was gone. This one old photograph holds so much more than 3 faces. It carries the weight of many Victorian sorrows. Children dying young from diseases we can cure today. Mothers lost in childbirth. Fathers unable to raise babies alone. Elderly widows taking on the hard work of bringing up small children, and the custom of memorial photography that let grieving families keep one last image of someone they loved. For Elizabeth Whitmore, the picture was a quiet record of everything she had lost. 2 baby sons in the 1850s, her husband John in 1888, her daughter Margaret in 1891, and now her grandson Henry in 1896. Yet she kept going, pouring all her strength into Edward for 8 more years. When we look at the restored photograph today, Elizabeth sitting so straight, dressed in black, her hands resting on both boys, one alive and one gone. We see not just a sad story, but a powerful one. It shows the deep love of a grandmother who refused to let death erase her family completely. It shows the strength it took for an old woman to keep mothering after losing almost everyone. And it shows how photography, even in its earliest days, gave people a way to hold on to what mattered most. One final precious moment when the family was still together. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe.